What's going on YouTube? Justin from the Team Misplay here. Going to do another Beating the Meta video for you. Today we're going to be talking about Dino Rabbits, which is arguably the best deck in the format. So I know we talked about Chaos Dragons a while back, and we'll be doing a video on Insectors soon. And today we have Dino Rabbits. So let's look at typical Dino Rabbits. Dino Rabbits are focused around Rescue Rabbit, Guaiba, and Tour Guide. We all know the plays. Rescue Rabbit, Banish, Special Summon 2 normals, Overlay for an Evilzar. Tour Guide lets you get Leviair, make it, and then reuse your rabbit. And then Guaibas are there to run over smaller monsters in case you don't have a rabbit or a Tour Guide way to get back your rabbit. The thing that you need to understand about Dino Rabbit is that when they first came on the scene, they were really an aggressive, explosive deck. But as the meta has changed and transformed, it's kind of transformed itself into what it truly is, which is a really big stun deck. They make a big beater monster that comes with a negation that's practically free, and then they play a lot of back rows and protections to keep your monsters off the field and to keep your spells and traps from going off. So let's get down to typically what they'll play in their lineup. As the meta's progressed, they've actually started main decking Macrocosmos, which I'm sure you've seen in a lot of builds lately. Macrocosmos shuts down Chaos Dragons, it shuts down Insectors. Both of those decks need their graves, and Macrocosmos just takes it out of the game. Play Fiendish Chain to stop effects. Sometimes they don't want to use their Lagia negations on a summon of a monster. They can just flip Fiendish Chain to negate the effect and keep it from attacking. A lot now are playing Starlight Road, thanks to Josie Orlando. You play about 12, 13 traps in your main deck, and it's a good way to protect from heavy storm, so you don't have to use your Lagia negation on a heavy storm. Also, one of the most disrupting plays that can happen to Dino Rabbits is having your monsters be destroyed or removed from the field before you can make your Evilzar to negate their back row. So Starlight Road protects monsters and lots of spells and traps. They're playing Torrential Tribute, again, to deal with your monsters while they bide their time to create a play to make their own Evilzars. Bottomless Trap Hole, Chaos Dragons are big, Centipede is 1600 attack. So if they can bottomless your monsters and keep your plays from going off, then they can keep their own field presence. And Lance is a proactive and reactive card. They use it to save their monsters from spells and traps, as well as make your monsters smaller during the damage step. It's great to combo with Guaiba. They attack, you flip Lance, or you attack with Guaiba and flip Lance, and it makes their monsters smaller than Guaiba so that he can run over them and bring out another Guaiba and make an Evilzar. And the deck focuses on really toolboxing its extra deck to create its plays. The monsters in the deck don't do much outside of Guaiba, or unless they're playing Protect the Normal Monster, and they'll put a big normal monster up with a lot of spell and trap protection for it. But the actual toolbox of the deck is in the extra deck. A typical extra deck will look something like this, and there are cards missing because I chose not to leave in copies, as well as other cards that other people might want to play. Obviously, they're playing Stardust Dragon for the Starlight Road. Starlight Road's a good negation, and Stardust Dragon's a good second negation. You pretty much get to negate 2 cards for free with these cards. You have your rank 3 toolbox: Leviair, Zenmaines, Leviathan, Acid Golem. Leviair, obviously, to bring back your rabbit and shoot it again. Zenmaines to wall up and just kind of stall out to create your plays and to pick up pieces. And then Leviathan and Acid Golem are just beaters. Next is the rank 4s. Obviously, bread and butter is Dolka and Lagia. Dolka is a Solemn Judgment on legs. Lagia is a Solemn Judgment on legs. Dolka is a Divine Wrath on legs. They have very good stats, and when backed up by Lances, they're really hard to get rid of. And then just your generic rank 4s. Utopia to stop negations. Photon Papilloperative is seeing a lot more play because people are playing Spirit Reapers and Snowman Eaters and Gelen Duos and Arcana Forces. It switches those monsters to attack and makes them lose 600 attack, especially if they have a big monster on the field that has a high attack and high defense and they're just walled up behind it, because most of your Xyz don't get any bigger than 25 outside of Acid Golem and Gemnite Pearl. Most of them don't get over 25, so you can use Papilloperative to switch them to attack and make them lose attack and kill it. And then Maestro, Roach, and Pearl, obvious reasons outside of Maestro. Maestro is just a good card to be able to flip high attack monsters into defense, which usually have terrible attack or terrible defensive stats because they have really high attacks. So that's basically the Dino Rabbit deck layout. Obviously, you're running the normals and the Sangans and all that stuff. So let's talk about beating the deck. So, how do you beat a stun deck? Beating a stun deck requires you to be able to make big pushes and big plays, and at the same time outstun a stun deck. So, if you have an explosive deck, you kind of want to make more field presence than they're able to handle, because a lot of the times they'll have to use a lot. They'll have to use a lot of tools and advantage and resources in order to really just make your field a little bit more simple than what it is. And that's what happens with Dino Rabbit, is when they simplify your field, they also simplify their own game, because they're using their game to simplify your field instead of having you try to simplify their field, which is very hard to do. So to start off, you want to be able to get rid of the monsters before things happen. So you've got Bottomless Trap Hole, Torrential. These are two very good cards. They stop problems before they happen. You can bottomless Guaibas, you can bottomless the normals brought out by Rescue Rabbit. You can bottomless the Leviair before they make before they're able to make the Rescue Rabbit play. Same with Torrential. It keeps their monsters off the field, and they're forced to use their own lances or their own solemn judgments in order to keep their monsters on the field. And the fact that Torrential's at 2, and they're not always going to have a lance or a solemn, and especially if you Torrential on a rabbit play, they can only save 1 without having to use both lances to deal with your 1 card. And then, so this goes to crap, and now you're trying to figure out what else you have to do. After the monster's on the field, Smash and Ground. It helps you force negations of Lagia. It deals with their big beaters, and it forces them to use Lance on their Evilzars or their strong monsters, which weakens their monster, giving you a chance to special summon a monster, possibly even normal summon a monster that can run over it. So this can also be like a Soul Taker, depending on what you want to play. You really don't want a Soul Taker against Dino Rabbit, because giving them another 1,000 points only turns on Solemn Judgments or Solemn Warnings, because typically Dino Rabbit players play with Reckless Abandon regarding their life points, because as long as they can keep presence, then life points don't matter. MST. MST is a pretty good card, because if you can disrupt their back rows and have your plays go off, they're forced to use their negations early, as opposed to being able to use their back rows and holding onto their negations. Lagia only has 1 shot, and Dolka only has 2 shots. And they have to pretty much protect themselves with their back rows. The back rows protect the monster protects the back rows. And if you can proactively destroy their back rows, or force them to actually save their back rows with their monsters, then you're in a good position to capitalize and make a punishable play off of being able to get rid of what they were planning to use to stop you. As far as like surprise factor monsters, you've got Spirit Reaper, Snowman Eater, and Fossil Dino. Spirit Reaper is a wall. Outside of Papilloperative, Dino Rabbits have no way of dealing with Spirit Reaper outside of wasting a Lance or a Fiendish Chain or even a Forbidden Chalice on Spirit Reaper to get rid of it, which means it's 1 Lance, 1 Fiendish Chain, or 1 Forbidden Chalice less that's going to be used against your proactive monsters and monsters that you're going to be using in order to capitalize on your own plays. Snowman Eater. The only thing that can stop Snowman Eater when they attack it is Chalice or a Dolka. And a lot of times you can get rid of the Dolka because they have to protect the Dolka on top of reading a Snowman Eater. But outside of that, Snowman Eater ties with Sabersaurus, and there's really no other monster outside of Exceeding that can run over Snowman Eater. And at the same time, if they run over Snowman Eater with an Ixies that's not a Dolka, then they're going to lose the Ixies and whatever resources they use to make it. And then last is Fossil Dyna Pachycephalo. Fossil Dyna it's a surprise card. If your opponent makes a big play, they're not reading Fossil Dyna, and they go for a Lagia, then followed by Tour Guide Levier play into Rabbit, and then they attack and you flip that Fossil Dyna, they've lost their entire field, and the only thing that can protect them from that is having a Forbidden Chalice in hand to activate in the damage step. Also, you can preemptively play Fossil Dyna and just summon it with a lot of protection, because most of their plays go off on special summons, like a normal summon of a Rabbit or a normal summon of a Tour Guide. Granted, they do all their normals and Guaibas are bigger than Fossil Dyna, but if you can play Protect the Fossil Dyna, then you can keep them from special summoning and should be able to keep them from making any Evilzars and making any big pushes. The last card that everybody pretty much should be playing is Effect Veiler. If you're not playing D-Fissures or Macrocosmos, there should be no reason why you're not playing Effect Veiler. If you can Effect Veiler a Tour Guide player, Effect Veiler a Rabbit, and then capitalize on that advantage, on that presence that you've created, because really there's no advantage anymore as far as cards, there's only presence, or an advantage in presence on the board. So Effect Veiler can assist you in being able to create a presence on your side of the field and not have to stare down an Evilzar. But if you guys have any questions or comments regarding beating Dino Rabbits, please leave it in the comment section below. Be sure to rate, comment, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Tell your friends to subscribe to the channel. We've been growing a lot lately, and I feel like we're really being able to make that move to a bigger YouTube channel, and we need your guys' help to do that. Also, got one more thing we're gonna do here. Gonna have a little bit of a sales pitch for you guys out there. Team Misplays pretty good at Yu-Gi-Oh! So we've got a lot of mats, and we just got a lot of mats that we're gonna try and sell off or trade off. Please PM us for the prices. We have the 2012 Winamat mat. We have the Hanzo White Dragon Ninja regional mat. We've got the Chaos Utopia Ray Sneak Peek mat. We've got the 2012 Judge mat. This is not the YCS 100th one, this is the generic one. The Gaga Girl. We've got the 2011 Judge mat, the Tyrus Adreus. I really like this mat, it's a pretty good one. And we've got a Pokemon mat. This is a Worlds Pokemon mat, I believe. Phil on the team plays Pokemon, so he got this at Worlds. And we just have a plain black mat. Again, if you're interested in any of them, please PM us. And last thing we do, we have another question for you guys out there. My team is very goofy. We're really silly. We do a lot of dumb stuff. And we're trying to see if this is just us or if there are other teams. But let us know if there's anything goofy or silly or just stupid that you and your team do or talk about that isn't Yu-Gi-Oh! Related. So again, remember, thumbs up the video, rate, comment, subscribe. And remember, it's not a pro play unless it's a misplay.